Chapter 3: Commitment and Consistency. Hobgoblins of the Mind. People like to believe they are consistent. They want their actions to match their words and their past decisions. Once a choice is made, it begins to shape identity. The mind quietly asks for alignment. Changing direction feels uncomfortable. It feels like admitting a mistake. So people often stick with a decision, even when it no longer makes sense. This tendency is not weakness. It creates stability and trust in everyday life. Without it, promises would mean little. Plans would collapse easily. But consistency has a hidden side. Once activated, it can trap people. A small commitment today can lead to a much larger one tomorrow. The first step is usually harmless. It feels voluntary and easy to agree to. Later requests build on that initial yes. Each step feels natural because it follows the last. People tell themselves they are being reasonable. They are simply staying consistent. The more public the commitment, the stronger it becomes. When others see the decision, backing out feels even harder. Written commitments are especially powerful. Once something is written, it feels real. The mind treats it as a reflection of who you are. Changing it feels like changing yourself. Even small written statements can have strong effects. A signature can lock in future behavior. Once people label themselves in a certain way, they work to live up to that label. A person who agrees once feels pressure to agree again. Each step reinforces the last. The behavior becomes a pattern. Over time, the pattern feels automatic. The original choice is rarely questioned. This is why influence often begins with tiny requests. The goal is not the action itself. The goal is the commitment it creates. After that, consistency does the work. People convince themselves that each new step is their own idea. They feel in control, even as the path narrows. The trap works best when it feels voluntary. No force is needed. No argument is required. The person moves forward to avoid inner discomfort. Breaking consistency feels worse than continuing. This chapter begins to reveal how powerful identity can be. Once behavior shapes self-image, influence becomes internal. The persuader no longer needs to push. The mind pushes itself. Once a commitment is made, people begin to defend it. They search for reasons that make the choice feel right. A man once agreed to attend a free seminar. It cost nothing but an hour of his time. At the door, he was asked to sign his name to confirm attendance. He didn't hesitate. Inside, he listened politely. When the offer came, it felt harder to leave. He had shown up. He had signed. Buying felt consistent with who he had already become. The purchase was not forced. It felt like a continuation. Effort strengthens commitment. The more someone invests, the harder it is to walk away. A woman joined a club with a small entry fee. It was barely noticeable. Later, the fees increased. She stayed, telling herself it must be worth it. Leaving would mean admitting the first decision was wrong. Public commitments are even stronger. When others can see them, backing out feels painful. A neighbor placed a sign in his yard supporting a cause. He agreed because it felt harmless. Later, volunteers asked for donations. Saying no felt awkward after showing support publicly. Written commitments carry special power. A signature feels permanent. A restaurant once asked customers to write their names on a waiting list instead of giving numbers. Those customers waited longer without complaining. Their names made the wait feel like a promise. People like to match their actions with their self-image. Once someone sees themselves as supportive, loyal, or responsible, they act that way. The persuader often steps back at this point. The pressure no longer comes from outside. The mind takes over. It pushes itself forward to stay consistent. This is why small requests come first. The goal is not the action. The goal is the identity it creates. The chapter shows that consistency is not bad. It gives stability and trust. But when commitment is engineered, it can quietly trap. Awareness breaks the loop. When you notice the pattern, you regain freedom. Consistency should be a choice, not a cage. A salesman once asked homeowners a simple question. He asked if they cared about saving energy. Most people said yes. It felt obvious and harmless. A week later, he returned and offered an expensive energy system. Many agreed because saying no would contradict their earlier words. In another case, a charity asked people to wear a small pin. It cost nothing and required no donation. Days later, those wearing the pin donated more than others. The pin made them feel like supporters. A school asked parents to volunteer for 1 hour a month. Almost everyone agreed. Later, the time increased. Fewer refused because they already saw themselves as involved parents. A store once asked customers to write their names on a loyalty card. No rewards were promised. Those customers returned more often than those without cards. Writing their name created attachment. A car dealer asked buyers to decide on a color before discussing price. Once the color was chosen, buyers felt committed to the car. Negotiation resistance dropped. A gym offered a free trial, but required members to schedule workouts in advance. People who scheduled visits showed up more often. The calendar entry felt like a promise. A political campaign asked people to verbally support a cause in public. Later, those same people donated more money. Public words became private pressure. A restaurant asked customers to repeat their order aloud instead of pointing. Customers were more patient with delays. Speaking the choice made it feel personal. A landlord asked tenants to sign a cleanliness agreement. Those tenants kept apartments cleaner than others. The signature shaped behavior. A company asked employees to set their own goals. Once written, employees worked harder to reach them. Self-set commitments feel stronger. A store asked customers to assemble part of a product themselves. They valued the item more afterward. Effort created ownership. A teacher asked students to predict their grades in writing. Students worked harder to match their prediction. The paper became a mirror. A salesman asked customers to imagine owning the product. Once imagined, walking away felt like loss. A charity asked donors to choose the donation amount themselves. People gave more because the choice felt personal. A website asked users to agree to small terms before signing up. Later, users accepted larger conditions without reading. A boss asked an employee to give advice on a project. Later, the employee defended that project strongly. Advice became investment. A waiter asked customers if they preferred water or soda. Once answered, ordering felt like a continuation. A friend asked for a small favor, like holding something briefly. Later, asking for more felt natural. Each example follows the same pattern. Small actions reshape identity. Once identity shifts, behavior follows automatically. The influence no longer comes from the persuader. It comes from inside. This is why consistency is so powerful. It recruits the mind against itself. The chapter ends with a quiet truth. The first yes matters more than the last. Because once commitment begins, momentum does the rest. Awareness slows the process. Noticing the first step restores choice. And choice is where freedom lives.